Word. Um, so someone asked me if there was you know, what really took me to want to commit myself to trading, how I got started, like how did I learn? I see you making big wins. When I started during COVID, I was very I mean, again, I got so much time back during COVID when I was commuting 4 hours a day, literally, back and forth between New York and Princeton just to get to my first job out of college. When COVID happened, I got so much time. And then when I made my very first trade, $400 within 1 hour, that was the most money I'd ever made in my life. And it was like from the push of a button. Like, I don't know what everyone else's first options experience. It's not always positive, right? But it depends a lot of times how your experience starts. And that's really a huge thing for us at Teach Trade. Like that really can shape your expectations or your awareness of these things, right? And so we try our best, especially when people are starting out, we try to nurture them to feel that confidence, feel that power in the way that options has. Because when that happened, I was just, I was set. I saw my life ahead of me. I had the That's So Raven moment because it was, it was so easy for how that money made. It almost felt illegal. You know what I mean? There's this like, there's this clip of Young Thug, if you've seen it. He's like, he's like, whoop-de-doo, right? If we all go to jail, whoop-de-doo. Well, when I saw that money pop up on my phone after an hour, I was like, okay, like is this legal what I'm doing? Because this doesn't there was no work involved. So there's definitely work in trading. There's a lot of work to do. But at the moment, that's what it felt like. And so I really was so committed to trying to understand that to the core. Like, how do I make that happen, right? Because I know there has to be a way to achieve this consistently. And I was able to do that, right? But there's so many areas along trading that we know that you can stumble and then lose that, you know? And so what one common thing that we do face in trading, it's chasing price, right? I know, especially before options trading, I did like a little bit of penny stock trading. And when I would see a stock, it was up, let's say 15%, and it's a penny stock, those things are like either like a couple of cents or they might be like $3. I'd see it up 20%. And then I'm like, oh my God, I see the green, right? And I'd buy it, right? And of course, for those who might know, it's like, well, that typically led to not the most positive outcome, right? And because we kind of just have these expectations and we see the green, we see opportunity, we feel as though we want to follow along, right? But there's a ways in which there's a different level of following along that we can do, right? Or there may be rephrasing about how we trailblaze and create our own pathway, right? Um, and so what it says here, traders chase price, ignore liquidity, and get faked out. It's I feel like that's the one common thing, especially for all of us. When we start trading, that is the most common experience, right? We get faked out. You might have a late entry, right? Honestly, today there was a trade on PDD. If you were on stream with us earlier today, I that in a way felt like a late entry. It felt like the right entry, but we got hit with a reversal. I ended up taking my first loss of the day on that. Was able to recoup it with other trades, but that's kind of the thing, right? And it can get a bit frustrating. Last week, Shopify got reversed on, even when knowing a lot of this stuff. There's times where it just happens, right? And it's times where, especially when you lose that level of consistency, you have to merge your way back to what specifically your rules are. And that's kind of what this is all going to be about when we talk about this today. And we're gonna just, again, have an ongoing conversation. Random stops, right? Where you feel as though that you're getting stopped out just at random, right? Or that it's um You get stopped out of one trade, feel like, okay, well, next time I'm not gonna go with the stop loss because I don't want to get stopped out again, lose my money just to see the price go back to where I thought it was gonna go. Next time you go without a stop loss, you get absolutely crushed. It goes to damn near -70, -80, zero, right? That happens, right? Or just getting emotional over the exits, right? We're just really frustrated, like all this stuff has happened, and it's just like I'm tired of this. No, like I just don't want to deal with the stress. Boop. You know, and they have these symptoms, right? And it's about bringing awareness to these symptoms, especially in our academy and through a lot of our lessons that are already on Teach Trade. We've identified a lot of those times it happens because of buying tops or selling bottoms. We have a class that's specifically on the five fatal mistakes that most traders make. Buying tops, selling bottoms. Like a lot of us, when we started learning trading as well, like we've been lied to, or our expectations are just like so skewed. I mentioned earlier about that penny stock when I would buy something that's up 15%, expecting like a big win out of it. Another thing is like a lot of times we see other people's success and we want that success so bad, right? And the level of, and that's where, in a way, before I get too much into my criticism of things like copying, right? But there's ways in the which that when we see someone's success, and especially something where we are led, and when you're led by a leader, you can be led to success on that merit by just copying what they do, right? That's really a lot of times where having a mentor really is, that you're learning from somebody, trying to copy their, or at least adopt some of their practices. But there's things in which that mentality where you find yourself wanting to duplicate someone's success, like copy that. It's like you're wanting something in a way that's not yours or not yours yet, right? And I think of that and sort of bring this to a high level is when you really get down to the gritty. Um, because it's something I've recognized as well. And I'm only just gonna, again, just continue the convo. Y'all can sort of put in the chat what you think as well. Because I really want to hear about y'all about some of these things too. I'm reading the chat a little bit right here. Because when I have a really bad day, I like I I have like a trading specific uh I have like a trading specific Twitter, and I cannot be on that when I have like a bad day. Like the amount of like tweets and screenshots of like people just on the come up and whatnot. Honestly, it's awesome. And it's inspiring and it is motivating. But there's times where it's like, good God, you just like your brain can form the levels of envy, of jealousy, of self-deprecation of yourself, or like why is that not me, right? And that can be debilitating, and however many years into my career, it's like if I feel as though like not I'm just out of it, it's like I really I know to like separate myself from that, or I try better to do so, because it's it can be difficult, right? And you're just trying to search for the solution, right? So, what essentially, with all of my experience, and some of us have sort of heard me talk a bit at length about the LVL, but I'm going to formally introduce it. We're not going to cover every single thing about it, but I just wanted to have this in the conversation. You know what I mean? Some people here in chat are saying, "Yeah, get that ish out of my face." Yeah, I don't want to see your Lambo. You know, you know. Um, yeah, it's real. You're only human. And so selling bottoms, yeah, Shopify from last week, that was so annoying. But it's common here. So what the LVL is when I summarized the past 4 years of my experience with trading. And so I developed this over the course of 6 months after just back testing and narrowing down what were the core elements about what I learned. And there was a lot to learn from 2020 to 2024. There's much more to learn. I never stop learning about what's out there, how to configure things. I just know that when I've had my winning days, when I've seen others have that level of success, I wanted to see about what were the things about what were the pinpoints, not about a strategy per se, but what are the pinpoints where people felt good, if that makes a difference? Like I wanted to match trades to just about when people feel good about something, not about when it's like a lotto and you kind of just think something is gonna go well, right? And you're just making a bet. But even when someone felt good about a trade and it didn't work, when there's spaces where, but it's just about the level of comfortability that we drive and develop about our level and sense of self. And so when I wanted to narrow down what are the core elements of the market that really breed like positive insights and also to things that we can pay attention to, I narrowed it down to about three things, right? More so like five, but three just to keep it simple, right? And so the major place that we acknowledge is that reversals are the biggest thing because reversals are oftentimes the things we get caught in the most, right? The biggest disappointment is when we feel as though that we when we get caught in one, right? And so that's the other side where what are the times that make us feel the worst? And getting a reversal, holding against our rules, those are the things that make us feel the worst and really make us want to quit, right? So it's like, what if we matched those two and then flipped it on its head? So, uh, what we break this down into is liquidity, validating the trend, and locking on, right? So liquidity is essentially it's reversals, trends, and targets. If we just simplify the market in that way, reading charts becomes so much easier and cleaner. Learning trading and getting more confident about what you want to know and how you build your overall process through trading becomes easier and simpler. And also that we can match the ways in which we know where we don't want to feel and know like how we want to make ourselves feel better about for having strength in our level of analysis or ability to just take trades to an understanding of a target, knowing and feeling good about where it's going to go. Especially that when you plan a trade by yourself and the trade plays out, that is the best feeling. There's no better feeling in trading. You can feel good with making money, and I'm sure people felt really great when I've shared a great trade. I mean, what's it called? What today just went off. What was that? Not I mean several things went off. If Tyler's here, he knows. But this thing that just went off at the end of the day, JD went pretty crazy, right? And the other one, Ion Q, that's what I was talking about. That it can make you feel good to make that money, but it's the validating that you're on the right path when you're able to make the decision yourself. And that's what I've identified after interviewing a bunch of people, talking to people, going on and further, right? And so Um, what we sort of find here is how we go ahead and break this down typically, right? We tend to look for reversals because reversals are the place that we don't want to get caught at, right? And in every lesson you hear me talk about, we're always starting at the swing highs and lows, right? Because those are the most common places where reversals are going to happen. And we know exactly why, right? We know about And if you don't know, I'm telling you, so that it's going to be we know, that we all know, right? Um, that people and set their stop losses under the swing lows, above swing highs, because it's very common. You place a call somewhere, and it breaks below support about under where you place your call, you're likely going to get out, right? But it's likely after you get out that they run it back and you feel bad, right? And you're not you feel like, oh man, it happened again. So that's where we know because we've all been there before. We've all had that same emotion. It doesn't even have to come down to the technicals of things. We know because we felt it. So how do we better identify when that happens? When we have a swing low, we trade into that, right? First, we wait for the reversal. All right? We wait for the reversal to happen first. And then we're able to start to get the level of confirmation, right? That's when we see are we making higher highs and higher lows, right? Are the time frames showing into the direction that we're expecting after, let's say, a bounce happens? If price goes down, hits a low, then it must go up, right? Is it going up? How do we confirm it's going up? That's what validating the trend is, right? I skipped a step because, this is all about the actionable signal. I'm going to show y'all that in a moment. We're going to go through some examples. But then it's about, okay, having that sense, right? The part where we're talking about where we feel good about, where we have such positive reinforcement that we're on the right path, is having a stock go exactly where we think it's going to go, right? So how do we have sensible targets that we put on our screen? And that's typically where we have to identify where we lock onto. All right. Getting to the other side of things, typically to the other side of a range. And so, that's where I found myself experimenting with seeing what areas can get to that and also trying to see how many trades have done this, right? And if this is an easy way to just pick up trading, pick up price action such that you're not confused anymore. After about 1,000 trades, I found that 780 trades out of 1,000 that are positive, that return at least 1 to 2% of a move, typically has at least two out of the three of these elements of the reversal, the validation, and locking onto the trend. All right. And that's quite something to acknowledge and to think about when we're doing this, right? And so when we're going through this, understanding things, we've taken a lot of courses, we've done some practice, depending on who you are, but we all see the potential in this, right? And so that's where I, with my limited programming background, which is not limited anymore, it's as a result of like building a lot of these things, it's become more extensive. I've wanted to put this together that would make it easier to act on all of this that we can acknowledge. All right. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share a different screen now. Then that's when we're gonna start to talk through a few of what's going on here and what I built, what we can do with that framework in a very simple framework, right? We're trying to mesh all this together. So this is Oracle today, right? And so Oracle, I'm sure a lot of you are seeing it after hours doing what it's doing, right? What's very interesting today, especially if you were on the live stream with us today, as we were making our plays, giving a lot of guidance, so on and so forth, Oracle was one of the trades I mentioned on stream that I said, this is going to hit. And I know it's going to, right? I actually didn't know they had earnings today. And keep that note very important that I did not know they had earnings today. But quite frankly, I didn't care because what was going to happen was going to happen. And I had with high confidence that it was going to, right? At least it was going to go to a very high degree, right? And so here, what I'm going to now do is put I'm just going to put it on the chart, right? And so typically, um, the tool I built, this is the indicator, right? Some of you may have seen it. It's on stream. It's on wherever. And so Typically, it appears as a dashboard, right? It appears as a dashboard, uh, and it'll give you a bit of information on the chart, right? Where the time frame is, the price range, and this is some additional information we've just been using to try to backtest. Just this is still outdated just at the moment, but it's very useful to understand once we familiarize ourselves with this data. And I want to share this is to understand about how many times has this hit a take profit? How many times has this hit a stop loss? How many times has done this and more? But the first part we're thinking about is the patience level, trying to operate so that we don't get reversed on, so that we manage ourselves with trades, right? And so when Oracle started today, what happened was we started with the liquidity, right? Started with the liquidity, that first part of the LVL, the L in the LVL, the first one. And then we reversed, and the trend started to get validated, right? As we're returning back into this previous range. And so at that moment, when that happens, we are greeted with an alert, and it gives us a long trigger, right? It tells us to go long with an option suggestion. And so, for the reason behind this is that there are many decisions that happen before you even enter an options trade. When we're talking about confidence, when we're talking about all of these areas, when it comes to trying to maintain yourself as a trader, and as simple even when, and this I'm going to speak to Ty again, as well as to all the new full beginners of traders that we have, that there's so many decisions to make. Every single time we make a trade, and a lot of you who have been active traders with us, you kind of almost forget that we're making all of these decisions before we make a trade. Like, is the stock going up or down? Okay, if I've picked a direction, um, where is it going? How far is it going, up or down? At what moment is it going up or down? Okay, we've decided those things. What trade do I buy? Okay, I buy a call. Which call do I buy? Which expiration do I pick? How long do I hold? How much money do I put in? How much risk am I assessing? Because how much of it can I lose? We're already at 9 or 10 decisions before we even buy the actual trade, right? And so everything I've built over the past couple of years has been to getting to the decision faster. The main final decision from point A, decision 1 to decision 10 or 11, that we not skip, but we process all of these and bring that decision making time to this. And the uncertainty, because with every decision, it increases the level of uncertainty because each decision is stacked on top of one another. And so, for something to suggest a trade for your side, it gives us a bit more confidence, a bit more, okay, I have an assessment of what trend that this can take. When it comes to, I've talked about this extensively, and what you're going to learn, especially if you join us in the academy, a lot of my students know is that everything changed when we started to talk about risk to reward, right? And so, risk to reward essentially, I'm going to quickly go to a different chart now, right? So we talked, let's say SPY, right? SPY is an interesting one here. SPY is an interesting thing. And so SPY did have an LVL setup here today, but let's ignore that just for a moment. But typically a lot of times how people trade is they'll wait for an inside candle because this candle is inside of the range of the previous candle. Like this is a day candle, that one's also a day to the left. But this is a very much smaller day than the one to the left, right? So they'll wait for a trade to break out of that waiting period, right? And then after that, it's their target up there, right? So from entry to target is how we typically assess something here, right? From entry to target is typically how much profit we make, right? But the amount of risk that we're taking is dependent on that distance, as well as the distance that we set for ourselves from the entry to our loss, right? And so oftentimes is that there are many folks that, and I wanted to find a better example than that one. I just want to find something similar. But there's many times where this is a better example, where the distance between where your entry is and where the point at which a trade can stop, it can be very short, right? This is a $2 move on SPY. On SPY, that's really not a lot, right? But imagine if where you set your entry to exit and then the exit to your loss, if the amount of loss that you allow on your trade, or just the potential for you to have, to say, okay, I'm going to give this up, if that is like a big, or if that is equal, first of all, from your entry to your profit for your entry to your loss, that's not really a good favor for you, right? That's really a coin flip at the end of the day, right? Which trading is not. Trading is not just if you bought calls, you win. If you bought calls and it's for calls or it's going up, you won. If you bought puts and it's falling, you won as well. Like it's not that simple, right? And we acknowledge that. Oftentimes, what people would do, I'm going to go to a smaller time frame here. Oftentimes, what people do from where their entry is to their exit is that they will place where they exit their trade, like in their loss. They will put their loss where, even if they don't have a stop loss. Let's say they have it all mental. Where on this chart is typically someone going to put or exit their trade if they had a call? Let's say they bought a call right here. At this point when it went up, where are they going to stop out? It's likely to be at one of these swing lows, right? And so let's say you stop out at this first swing low, but our target is that high back there. The amount of risk that you're putting is just about equal, right? You're from your entry to your reward to the entry to that. It's equal. Hmm. If you're like, oh no, man, like I really think it's gonna go up, right? And then your trade pulls down here, and you're like, oh, this is my support. This is my support. If it doesn't recur, it doesn't recover. If it bounces off of there, then I'm still in. But by this time, how much are you down by this point? And then even if it bounces, let's say it bounces up here. Like, oh man, I'm gonna make my money back. What if it pulls back now to this support? And then you feel it in your bones, because I know it. Okay, I know how you felt. You feel it in your bones, and you're like, and what do you do? At this moment, you don't want it's something you don't want to do. Is you hold a little longer, because maybe it's a double bottom. But how much are you down at this point? I thought your entry was up here and that your profit was going to be up here, big fella, right? But how much more profit now do you have to get to your target at this point while you're still holding? And so that's where the chat is so funny, right? It's funny because we know it, right? We felt it. Even if you've never traded before, it's like you can see and feel it, right? And so just back here, if we had a way where the odds for making money and profit was greater than our potential loss every single time, such that we didn't have to think about it or we didn't have to risk falling into a trade because it can be very easy. Sometimes we ignore previous resistance levels, we ignore or we miss previous highs. And also we don't set that limit for how much loss we have. We just free ball it on the chart. Well, so that was something I wanted to identify is that if I could, especially for my own performance that I was trying to lock in on, if I could find a trade where there were at least two times the odds or two times the favorability for the amount of profit I could make versus the amount of loss that I'm risking. If I could do that every single time, then I'd be good, right? I'd be more profitable, ready to show up in the market every single day. And that's where this comes in, where on LVL is that this guarantees at least a 2-to-1 ratio on the trade every single time. And not even that, every trade found on LVL is at least 5-to-1. It's at least 5-to-1 reward to risk in terms of the balance on what you're trying to identify on your trades, right? Just utilizing those three steps that we talked about earlier. The most important parts about how we feel emotionally, as well as the most core areas where we feel or that price reacts on the chart from the reversals, the trends, and the targets, right? And so from this moment on Oracle today, and this happened on stream today, I said to the chat, hey, 240 calls on Oracle, a good opportunity, right? It could have been the moment that it crossed this area. I'm on the 5 minute time frame. I'm sure that's a question that could get asked. It crossed, it's at least comfortably above. I'm sure at this point you'd think to be at least a bit fine to start to enter a trade, right? If we get to the target, we take profit, right? The bigger the range, the better. And so what we try to find on our stocks now is that what we're trying to find are the good and big potential movers. If we know that the potential is high, that's always where we're going to understand and find out that this trade is worth it. Because the trade has to be worth it. Jasmine and I were just talking the other day when you're like in a trade, sometimes it's bad, right? Going break even on the trade is like a great scenario because you didn't lose money, right? Anything that's like not losing money and progressing and solving problems in trading is all about limiting your losses. Lowering your losses, limiting your losses, like that is how you survive. That's how you grow your portfolio and grow as a trader. But when you break even on a trade, you didn't make any money. It's just like, oh my God, like I just wasted my whole, I just wasted my day. Like this was a waste of time. You're telling me nothing happened? At least I could have got like, at least I could have scratched an itch, like I could have felt something if I took a loss. You know what I mean? Like I could have, I could have at least felt something, lived a life if I got a loss. But you're telling me nothing happened? But that's something. Time. That's we recognize that time is valuable to us. Like we don't want to waste our time, waste our buying power, right? And so that's why we have to get better at identifying what is worth our time. And that's really what I've set out to try to build here. And so what it comes down to is that when these setups happen and with full time frame continuity, where all the time frames are aligned, they're, green for the most part all across. From entry to exit here, 78% of the time is when the stock goes from the entry price and hits this target after trading through this range. Those are just the numbers. I just want to share that immediately there, right? So from this point, I told people, listen, Oracle has a good point to get there. And it did, right? It hit there on stream. But now what I want to show you for a moment is that we recognize that we're using certain time frames for the range of this tool, right? And so, but what I acknowledged and recognized when I was trading this was I put another indicator on the screen. And so I had the 2 week, and some people have heard me talk about the 2 week time frame a lot because the 2 week time frame is when you combine 2 weeks of data, but that you split the month in half. So you can find setups along there too, right? And so what I saw at this moment was that this was actually currently active on the 2 week time frame. That in the past 2 weeks, what we did was we took the liquidity, the first step, that L, by hitting the low last Wednesday, hit the low last Wednesday, then we bounced, we waited for the reversal first, and then got the trend confirmed. And that's where the party got started. And so the party actually got started last Friday, where an entry was alerted. And that told us, if you're able to see this here, let me make it a bit bigger. That gave us an 8% potential move. Now I don't know about y'all, but 8%? Are you kidding me? If you see this, the price range, that means that's a $20 potential move. All the way worth it. Because you mean to tell me that I could make a potential $20 move for profit versus if it wasn't, and this was the one of the times where there was a loss because losses are guaranteed. They're all part of the game. A $20 move with high probability versus a $3 drop if it doesn't work. Would you take those odds? That's the big question that is, and you can say it in chat, it's like, that's a big question that's not just about this indicator because we're talking about you at the end of the day. We're talking about you. We're talking about your portfolio. We're talking about the goals you have. We're talking about the time that's worth it to you. We're talking about months or years down the line when trading has become such a system for you that it just becomes that monthly salary, becomes that extra income. You could show up, say, "Oh my God, like my daughter's quinceañera is like right around the corner. I didn't book a venue." And then you can find a trade like friggin' UNH that has a 72%, excuse me, a 79% potential move to the upside that you can just show up to the market and then have full confidence with the trade. And you need that, buddy. You need like a trade opportunity that's higher probability that in that same scenario we're talking about. Your daughter's gonna have the best quinceañera. You're gonna have the biggest venue. You're gonna you'll find that opportunity because it's gonna show up daily, every single day, right? That this opportunity presents itself with a large movement. And just recognize the power in that as we're sort of talking through this. And so it's just in this example with Oracle, it was really based on not only this daily setup, but we can add confirmation to add swing trades or even higher targets for ourselves for what we expect. And so I was telling people to get into Oracle simply on the fact that I had a high confidence that it was going to do this $20 move. $20 was all it needed, and we've already made hundreds or thousands of dollars, right? 200, 300% to get there. That's all we need for a trade, right? Doubling, tripling the money. And so what happened on Oracle today was just as we played out and as we expected. And so if trading becomes more about what we planned and matching our outcomes for how much we expect, how much more comfortable would trading become? how much would we give to create a process that was able to make this as enjoyable as we want it to be, to lessen those areas of stress, to lessen those areas of discomfort and discernment between how we make those decisions. And but then further about how that gap that we talked about between the entries and exits, as well as the level of risk management, how that gap that typically separates the profitable trader and the one that has the inconsistent wins to the one that knows that success is guaranteed if you just stick to that process, right? And you just identify what is there in the middle that needs refining and that you just need to duplicate and be able to know for sure that you're taking a high quality trade, right? And so now, as everyone has seen, it only came even further with the confirmation of Oracle having a really positive earnings. It's in pie in the sky right now, right? But it's only as we anticipated that a big move was going to come. And in a way, I'm not going to advertise this. Do not quote me, and this is not financial advice. But what I would say is that I've seen so many earnings just play out, regardless of what they reported on earnings, and they just fulfilled the duties of what was regarded on those foundational elements of trading and price action that I've tried to encompass and build here in the LVL, if that makes sense. All right. And so, um, that's a big thing, right? And so I think we have some questions. I think Jasmine and Amanda have been answering some questions here in chat. I just want to make sure you all are aware of this. But definitely, we have just a bit further to go because I want to show you essentially what, especially this is the new features, right? And what we've been building, like how we've been trying to refine this to an even further degree, right? So, uh, but thank you for participating in the conversation, talking in the chat, because I see all your messages, you know, wasting your buying power. So where the LVL currently is and where it's been built. So I was actually showing you an updated version. Before the original version of this, it doesn't have that take profit data. It still exists like this, but you typically have to, wait for trades to pop up, right? And then when they do, if it falls back under the trigger for the entry, it'll actually disappear on your chart. And for some people, that was a bit confusing at first. And so we heard a lot of feedback for our early users that who've done in the challenge. And by the way, if you participate in the challenge, um, you know, put LVL there in the chat as well. Who's or just what your experience was. Let me know what you've done if you were able to pick up on this. But you gave us a lot of feedback that was very useful. And so what's here in the new version essentially is that uh, where if we compare the two, the other one sort of disappeared on the off the chart. This one, we have now a show history trades option, if you're able to see there on the chat. And so what that does is that actually allows it so that when these trades happen in real time, you see when the stop loss happens so that you can use it as a reference for when to get out before it would disappear before that even happened. And it only draws according to when the start of the trade is. Before, um, let me see if I can put the original LVL on. So on the original LVL, it would show like this, right? Kind of like overt and it show the whole trade or whatnot. And for some people, especially if they would only pop up on the chart after the fact, they wouldn't really know where the entry was, right? So that's something that we refined a bit in this next version. So that's a big part. And what's even better is that you can go ahead naturally and now you can go and paper trade in real time on the charts. All right. So, as I go through this scenario, yeah. Yeah, man. So as I go through the scenario, I'm gonna let me just see if this works. Am I on here? I think I'm on replay. Let me see. Oh, okay. I think I have to go here. Am I on here? Okay, okay. So we're gonna just do this for a moment, right? We're gonna say we have like 700 contracts. So when y'all see an entry, if you see it, whether it's like a call or a put, press C for call or press C for put, and we'll sort of see what we do here. All right, what are we doing? What are we doing? All right, you did a put, right? How far is that put going? Well, we hit one take profit already, right? Can we get to that next one? Are we trying to be greedy? Nah, I think we'll take profit right here, right? But it's always about sticking to the plan, right? Some reason TradingView in this replay trading, it's not letting me be great for how it's supposed to work. But we saw the example, right? But y'all saw it, right? That's as simple as it is. So you use it as the example, and you knew because of what it showed up on the chart and what it showed up in the dashboard, right? So now you can go back and paper trade any trade, especially on TradingView. You can actually make this happen with I want to maybe if I turn replay trading off, how do I do that? I was trying to do it like how we had it at InvestFest. But anyways, you can go back, paper trade, see how it works in real time, so on and so forth. Now, the other update that we had was we also have a screener for this whole thing, right? So we have screeners in our full like battle station, essentially, right? Wherever you're seeing my screen, we had all these areas that you could highlight and see all the stocks across the market on whatever time frame you want to set to, right? For when things are triggering, when things are hitting their take profit, and yeah, typically, when something crosses that first take profit, it increases the probability it gets to that second take profit, right? So that's some things like we're trying to be aware of and also find as trade opportunities. So when we put people into an LVL challenge or the level up challenge, it was about who can find the most trade ideas. So what we're going to do in the upcoming academy is we're gonna train you for 3 whole weeks, right? If you join in the academy, we have training for 3 whole weeks. You aggressively learn options trading, whether you're a beginner, you're returning, or you're an active trader. We have material specifically for what you are trying to improve on. And then you become part of the LVO challenge, where you utilize these tools, you collaborate in the team, and it's about finding the most trade ideas as possible, right? Or growing your portfolio by practicing good habits and good regimen, right? And so we give this part as a bit of a cheat code where some people might be looking at some teams might look at the same things, but it's about who found the most winning trades, who found the ones and were able to act on it, right? And that's how you build the confidence. You really put your money where your mouth is, where your risk management is, where your awareness and where you know now with certainty what's a quality and valuable trade. But the thing about this was we got a lot of questions, and you probably have questions here because you're like, there's a lot of tickers on that, Joe, man. What are you doing to us, man? How do I know when to enter? So, how we try to address that here is now with this, right? And now, what this here on the screen, I'm going to zoom in. So now this, the working name right now is the 25 cents log. All right. So now this is where things get really interesting and crazy. And so now this is brand new. So this is the first time I'm showing this to all you. This is the first time we've kind of seen a lot of this. You've probably seen some a bit on my stream lately, but I've built this, correlated this, took all the feedback, and now this is where we get real specific. All right. To know now exactly the time when the trades on your watch list are happening so that you can act on it and that you get notified in real time when this happens, when the setup is, and what exact trade to work with for when that happens on your watch list. And so we have, let's say you just have a watch list of 10 tickers, and that's what this has right now. You have your 10 tickers, your 10 bangers. If you, we actually have a lesson in the academy. If Jamal or Jasmine are able to find that lesson in the academy and share the link, we have a lesson that is specifically on watch list building. And with watch list building, you want to have your team players, right? Like ideally, you want to have Jordan and Pippen and LeBron and Giannis and maybe his little brother on the same team, right? But that they're going to play different positions. And that also you could sub someone out when need be, right? And so, but if you had all of these things, maybe one ticker that you have as your focus in each sector, one in China, one in tech, one in oil, one in healthcare, one in consumer staples, right? And then you collaborate, correlate all of this. And now, as you're trading in real time during the market, you get updates for when those trades are happening. So let me just show you as an example here on Oracle, right? So let's add Oracle to our watch list. What are some other things that triggered today, chat family? Let me know what things that triggered on the Haley. IonQ triggered on the day. Was AMD on the day? SPX. Let's put SPY on there, right? NBIS, I don't think triggered on the LVL on the daily. Palantir might have been on there. You said coin, QS. Let's just put all these things that you're saying. LMT. Oh. And then we're gonna start this from the beginning of the day. All right. So we start this at the beginning of the day. We're gonna go slow. And we're on SPY. And let's just put the indicator on the LVL on SPY. Let's make sure it's has everything going. All right. So now I'm just gonna press play and we're just gonna see what happens. All right, chat family. Just gonna see what happens here. Just I'm gonna make it just go a bit slow. So the first thing we see Lockheed Martin did trigger in real time here, right? So that happened almost immediately at about 9:30. We're gonna see if other things on our watch list populate throughout the day as well. This is at this point we're at 12 o'clock. We're just waiting. This is today, right? Oh no, that's Monday. Let's speed this up a bit. So I was like, okay, this is not anything on there. All right, so now we're up today. All right. Now we had Oracle and NVIDIA. They triggered pretty early on the day. Okay, now SPY shows up there, isn't it? Right? SPY gave the entry for calls, and if once it crosses, the TP gives you that opportunity. I mean, so it's gonna keep going in this version, just to let you know about it, right? But we recrossed it, it's giving you all these updates. And so what we've come together, and there are going to be a bit of areas where we're trying to also improve on this too. Are you sure all those stocks had those things? If so, or if not, this is replay mode. But what the thing is that it does show an update in real time. Sometimes in replay mode, it does show it differently. But at least we were able to see like Oracle, Nvidia, and whatnot popped up. And we know that SPY triggered that TP, went and hit it, and more, right? And so now, so yeah, so at least from our watch list from today, it does seem Nvidia, Oracle. If there isn't anything there, then it may have untriggered potentially. But this is still like our most updated feature, right? And so there's still things to update and to go on along with it, regardless, right? But I'm really excited to show you. So you're getting the raw, unfiltered everything. Like I've been building this. So the biggest thing here is that for your watch list, if you are able to have this watch list and then set an alert and that you get notified every single time the moment that a trade on your watch list triggers and has that 5-to-1 risk to reward ratio, and the moment that you get alerts when the target is hit so that you know when to take profit, when you know that, get out of your trade, if we could just click that button and make it create that so that we know, and then in the next update of this full-on tool, that from the moment that it triggers, if there was another column that told you exactly about what the potential move is that the trade has based on the setup, such that if it were to pop up on your screen on your logger and you saw something that said 15% potential move or like 30% potential move, you see all these other triggers that says 1% potential move, 2% potential move, but you see something that says 15, which one are you going to go for? Which one's worth your time? Which one are you gonna get excited for that you know, oh my God, I have a banger. And that you could get all of that sent, all those notifications sent to your email, sent to your app, whatever it is. Or what if one day we created a channel in our Discord as a bot that actually tells you when this happens? So this we are looking to launch within the next challenge, you will have this. And so a lot of you, of course, are asking how to get access to the indicator. Right now, all of this is early access. As an Academy member, a lot of our Academy members who've used this, gotten wins, grown, you get full access to this whole suite as an Academy member, as early access. All right. And so that is what we're building out. And you can start using this now, or you can wait for the Academy, or excuse me, wait for the challenge. For the challenge, we'll be accepting that's going to be an event. Either you can attend the challenge by itself, or you can become an Academy Live, user. Just get access to this right now, practice with it, start to learn trading as we go through it the next 5 weeks. But that's really the answer. I know a lot of people have been asking me, especially in the chat, and I'm sorry if all the time I wasn't able to answer immediately. But that's how we've been sharing this for you all. All right. And so for the Academy, and there's a lot of questions now about though that when that starts. Now feel free to sort of go over that and we can sort of cover that too. But I want to make sure if there were other questions specifically about this. I see you all in the chat. I see what you've been thinking, what you've been feeling. Honestly, Oracle got me like so excited today. JD, if you've seen me talk about JD, like that was all because of like these things I found utilizing the tool, seeing the indicator in real time. Like it becomes so simple after a while. I just again want to make sure there's any questions or more. Actually, I'm actually not sure if this was showing on this. Oh, on JD, it has to be on something. It definitely has to be on some time frame here. Is that the 2 week? JD has it on the 6 month, first of all. This is gonna be crazy, man. JD is if you're not in JD now, it's just gonna be so crazy, man. Because it's about to pop up once it crosses 35, about 35, 34. Like, oh my God, this is just insane, man. That's going to be a 30% move to the upside. I'm just going to let y'all know that right now. I already shared that start to look at leaps, do all of this. But it's like this stuff you can find out and learn on your own. All right. Um, the 25 cents log is not published yet, but it will be available in time for the level up challenge. Probably very much sooner, as soon as next week. Because I'm typically grinding through this, typically doing that, so on and so forth. The Academy, if we want to, I'm just looking at other questions. Autostratic will be updated. Me and the team actually had this conversation as well. Now that we cracked the code, especially on the, uh, unfortunately, my developer, you can go through these things with developers, so on and so forth. So it's always about, hey, I'll do it myself, right? And so I kind of been grinding. That's why doing these things. And as I mentioned about like how we've focused and honed in on the LVL framework, it's been about meeting where specific um, points are with just the immediate value or the ways of which that people are able to navigate and use. And we've seen AutoStrack become a lot as a tool of sophistication as well as assistance as it pertains to like, managing your trades, seeing swing trades, so on and so forth, right? This logger that I showed for the LVL, we've been wanting to do that and trying to do that for AutoStratic for a really long time, you know. But for the ways of which like trying to process it, have the developer sort of manage and put that together, that's been something that's just been, something that's taken a lot of time to get over. And so as I've been sort of navigating between the two and then working on the LVL, now knowing it's possible and knowing that these points are able to be tracked and have that logger, that's something that is next on our roadmap for Autostratic. With implementing every single thing we've discovered, having specifically the times when things are triggering, specifically about the validation of the how likely and probable trades are to work out based on the components of the chart. All those are coming together into one full area. If there was one thing that um, if there was one thing that I would share as an update on Autostratic, if I could put it together, let's see, was that I'm kind of playing my hand a little bit here. Is that this I'm not supposed to share this, but it's because someone asked, but this is what's coming to Autostratic really soon. And it's it's a work in progress. It's a lot of hard work, and that's why we hired a developer to put things together to ship those updates. But imagine if you had something that, you know, was able to tell you everything you needed to know about the chart and to help you stick to your patterns, stick to your behaviors and your rules that you set out and that you tell. the chart and the ability as your assistant and be able to come up with something fully there, right? And so these things have these different use cases, right? Um, and I'm gonna stop sharing that for now because it's still a work in progress. I don't want to show you something that's not all the way there yet. But that is what we've been working on when it comes to AutoStrack specifically. So I promise, like, AutoStratic is still a big priority for us, right? Um, it's just with the levels of pertaining to solving the problems of traders and coming up with all these solutions, we've we've really tested and experimented to map exactly where the aspiration for consistency matches the actual execution. And with the LVL and with the level up challenge and more, like that's where we've really identified a level of demand to fix that problem like significantly, right? While also wanting to make sure we build all these things, you know, with consistency and as they work together. Because I use AutoStratic every single day. I use the LVL every single day. That is the, for the most part, that is the way that I trade, that I pick stocks, that I pick options, you know. And so that's a really great question. I'm really glad like we were able to share that and I shared something I wasn't supposed to, but that's kind of that there. All right. And so I hope that answered and I hope like you guys are sort of excited through these areas. Using the different time frames with the 25 cents, it's all about the range about which you're looking at identifying in terms of like if there's a big range, if there's a small range. If we see something on the big range, let's see, there was hymns. Hymns and Google had some good points. Robinhood. Who traded Robinhood this week? Did anyone trade calls on Robinhood? Despite what happened on the you know, the inclusion on the S&P. And so on this, what we kind of have or had as our experience with tracking this trade specifically, just give me a moment. I want to make sure I have the proper thing on the chart. I think Robinhood was one of them. And so, okay, maybe Robinhood is one of them. I'm trying to see if there's like a better example. It seems like CleanSpark, CLSK is a better example. And so on CLSK, like how we're looking at a trade, let me just take some of this stuff off. Um, is that again, we're waiting first for this to populate and operate on the chart, right? Like we're looking at big opportunities. We're looking for there to be a sense of hitting one side of a range and then reversing, right? The thing about the bigger time frames is that they give you bigger ranges, bigger percentages with defined targets about how confident you can be to hold to those levels, right? And so when we have something that's on the week, we have something on the 2 week, these time frames can direct us to larger moves and larger outcomes for how long that we can hold a position for, right? What's gonna populate eventually on this chart, if this just gets and goes and does it, you know, is that there was a 2 week setup that eventually popped up. It's gonna show up on the chart when it does. And then when it did, that was what gave us an entry for calls, right? And now this is an 8% move. And now this has 2 weeks until the end of this 2 week period to work out towards getting to one side of the target or getting to the other side for TP, too. So this has all the way until this Friday to get to $10. And then we know with high confidence, it's very likely it's going to do that, right? So that just increases the amount of profit we can make because the range is just so big. And just how we can also manage this where this is not just day trading. I don't, or I mean, I love Aman. If you listen to Aman, who's one of our educators, if you've met him or not, Aman loves the LVL for day trading. But he's also comes around back to swing trading, and especially for some of us who love swing trading that found something on something like UNH, where if UNH has a setup, would you rather a setup where you get a $2 move on the stock or a damn $250 move on the stock? Tell me which one you would pick. All right. Tell me what habits, first of all, not just about what trade you would pick. What habits do you want to develop? Is it about, do you feel as though your personality or your availability of time in your schedule favors more day trading? Does it favor more swing trading? What is it? How do you feel? Do you often ask yourself, how long should I hold? What option should I buy? What targets do I do? Right? So people always ask me the time. They ask me all the time, what's your stop loss? Like, what's your stop? What's your price target? What's the play? What's the play? If you find yourself asking yourself these questions, and if you wanted an answer to that every single time, that is what we're trying to teach you in Teach Trade. That is, and that's not what we're trying to. That's what we will teach you. That's what we've taught hundreds of people. That's what we've seen the results. We've had people in the challenge be able to identify and make the difference. And it's not just me telling you this. It's it's people who showed up and they showed up because they wanted that transformation. The only one who's going to make that transformation is you. And the only what we do is that we guarantee that that's what we're going to put you in the position where you do that in high confidence to a staggering ability. Like that's something that we know for sure. If you stick to that script, if we curate and we're able to mentor you, follow your journey, and we're able to give you the exact insights on your trades, where to make the adjustments, what habits that are more core to your availability, your job. Some of you are truckers, some of you are painters, you're graphic designers, you're lawyers, you work in an office, you work on the go, you stay at home. Whatever it is for you, and we match you exactly with how your level of trading and ability can be, with the level of confidence that's necessary, that your goals just don't wait around anymore. And they stick to where they need to be and how they should be executed. Because our goals, they've waited long enough. It's time to not just keep going about this by ourselves, not go about this straddling and in these different areas. It's about how we mesh this together and really produce a firm conviction and a knowledgeable full pathway for what we see in our goals ahead, right? So if that made sense to you, let me know. If that's something like you're really trying to hone in on and get a hold on, just like I want to know. Like I need to know. Because if it is you, I am, Jasmine is, Jamal is, Steph is, Aman is, and Ray is. For all the Todd Capital and squad folks and everyone who, you know, for we have Ray as our new mentor. I was hoping to formally introduce him, but we'll do that. We're gonna have this formal introduction if Ray's able to attend, if he's here or not or whatnot. But if like we commit ourselves to this for what you tell us because it matters and because it has to matter to someone else. And that's where we've come together and we're a growing team, and eventually it's like If you really believe this strongly in our mission, like and like this commitment, we want you to become part of us, right? Like we're gonna want more mentors. We want more mentors. We want more educators. We want to do what we do, and because you've reached a level of confidence that what you do learn, this is the special part about the academy. And now let me just share because people were asking about the academy. Um, is that when we do this, we are essentially we're training you. This is something we're gonna actually hone in. Hold on to these words, and especially if you go through the academy, they'll make more sense at the end. But we're not only training you to go to and achieve your trading goals, become more consistent. Like that's the whole thing. But we're training you to become a mentor to a degree, a trading mentor. Not to like just that, because hey, we're hiring, but we're trying to grow. We're growing really fast. We're growing really, really fast. The app has kind of gone crazy recently. But it's the what that part really is, and on serious note, a mentor to the next person. Like you need to learn, like we want you to learn this so much that you really you pass this on to the next person. Simple as that. It's like I'm not gonna be the one for this skill, for any skill. I'm not gonna be the one to teach this to your kids, to your nieces, nephews. I can be. We're gonna have some education for schools and teens as well. Like we're gonna do that generally, right? But to pass this on to your friends, to your coworkers, to anyone you care about, that it's gonna matter more coming from you than it is from that information coming from me, from somebody, whatever that they don't know. Like really, like on a serious note, like and it's when with that level of that shared ability, that's really how we grow as a community. Like it doesn't matter to me for me how much money I make in the stock market, how much whatever. Honestly, like it's like all this stuff about the Lambos, about the living the life, living the big life. It's like, are we growing as a community? Are we making real change? Is our lives really being impacted, right? Because it doesn't really matter to me about like how much people think how great I am in the market, how much money I'm making, if I'm living the life. It's because I'm and Jasmine was just saying this on stream earlier. It's like I'm working these 12-hour days plus being in my MBA program because I'm trying to see the change in that next person, such that they pass on to the next person. Or that when you're in your groups in this next academy, when you're in your groups, that you're gonna see that someone else may not understand some component, but you do, right? Like someone may get confused like on the Greeks, like not knowing the difference between delta, gamma, and theta. But it's like you do. And then you're gonna feel that within yourself that you're gonna be able to communicate with that person because that degree from the level of skill or knowledge from you to that person is not that far, really. We're all not that far distance on this pathway as a journey. But because you have that level of closeness, that level of that you know it and someone else doesn't, and that, but you know that, but do you know it? You get you get me? Like you know it and someone else doesn't, but you want to know if you really know it. And so when you share it, if you feel as though you can say it to yourself, talk about, through yourself and share with someone else and that they understand, then that levels you up. That levels you up in your understanding and your commitment to get better. Because you recognize that it's then not just about you when it comes in this full place. I don't think I could ever trade alone again. I could trade alone, but I know it's like I wouldn't be as great as I was if it wasn't for a community. If it wasn't for the next person who gave eyes on this, or the next person who gave a bit of encouragement when things were bad, and I just wasn't alone. Because in trading, losses are guaranteed. We all lose. But what do we do about that? It's easy when we're by ourselves, it's easy to give up. It's easy to give up. It's easy to take a really long break. Breaks are always great, always necessary. But with trading, it's often like the break isn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be about you. A lot of times we can feel it's like something about me is wrong. Something about this is just, it's not coordinating. But it's about like how we find that level of coordination, to find how we find that similar pathway amongst each other. And in that way of being trained to become a mentor, you will be the best trader that you will ever find yourself to be. Because if it wasn't, if we're just going to use like my experience, if it wasn't for my commitment to everyone needing to know this information that helped me make $400 in 1 hour, that went on to pay off $25,000 of my student loans, if it went on to grow and have other people be able to afford their weddings, to be able to pay off their next car note, to be able to go on vacation, to just get a break from the hardness of, their job and everything. Like if it wasn't for wanting to share this information, I don't think the abundance of how much wealth of knowledge and execution would have come this way. And that's the full truth, you know. And so I don't want to be on a soapbox much, you know. I just wanted to really share that because it when I do this, and like anybody who like talks to me in person, like some of you may have met me at InvestFest, and like I just like I can talk about this forever, because so you'll hear my honest thoughts about the trading community and everything, and where we are bigger than all of this and just the competitive. I mean, the LVL challenge is very competitive, but it's fun. But the competitive, the ego, there's no need of ego. There's no need for I'm better than you. It's just like, are you feeding your family? Are you helping the next person out? Are you doing your duty as being a contributor to the greater good for yourself and your community? Like that's really what I care about for things. All right. Um, and so I've been scrolling through the academy. I'm going to update this with the full schedule. The full schedule of the dates for everything is here. Um, but just to let you know, oh, actually, it is here. So we have, it's going to be classes on Sundays for the people who asked about the academy. It's going to be your mentor pods where you're in the team and you're assigned with one of us as the mentors. That's either going to be on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. You're assigned one of those, all right? And we'll coordinate our schedules. You'll be matched for which one works best for you. And if you're not able to fit in, if you're not able to commit the whole time, yes, but we have sessions as well for you as well that you can attend the live sessions. Everything is recorded. We also have asynchronous um, material, which means that for those who may not know, that's the material that you don't have to be live and in person for. Though there's things that and lessons that you're going to be able to just go at your own pace. But it is an ongoing thing, right? To show up, we want that commitment. We want those who are serious about making that transition. Um, and then towards the end, again, that week 3 is when we have that level up challenge that we talked about, where we utilize and hone in on what patterns, what systems work best for us. Over the course of the program, we're actually doing a lot of tests and experiments, actually. We're doing experiments, whether you are a full beginner trader or you're an active trader. You're going to be matched specifically within your group, all right? And so if you're an active trader, we do a lot of experiments with how you go about um, sizing your positions, with how you go about assessing risk, how you assess your reward. And through those experiments is where we find commonalities in your behavior and we identify do we iterate on this? Like, do we make like some extra improvement or level up on this? Because this is working for us. Okay, so we see this is working. Do we just continue this pathway and just try to repeat it? Or do we pivot? Is there something that's not working that we identify? Do we pivot and try something else in terms of how we're operating on our strategy? Okay. And so over time, we build a playbook, right? We build our first version of our playbook. We then build our second version of our playbook based on the results of that. And then you get a final playbook afterwards that we finalize, within practicing during that second week of the real-time trading and team trading challenge there, right? And then by the end, we give you a 30-day plan because it's about this first 60 days of your trading or your level of improvement to trading, where you identify and track upon your journey. What am I doing? What has worked for me? What are the next steps for my pathway? Do I continue to iterate? Do I continue to improve and repeat this process? Are there things that I need to pivot? But you'll know with full certainty exactly what the next decision is for you to do. But you'll come out fully confident. You'll come out more knowledgeable and just aware of your own behaviors and your trading. And that's where we're making these levels of adjustments now, when it comes to how we're fine-tuning the Academy experience and also just how we make this most accessible to you. And so that's the thing, with when it comes to feel free to ask us further questions when it comes to commitment, um, timing, and more. We have that all involved. Um, we have a lot of FAQs to sort of answer those. But overall, what I kind of wanted to share is just to make sure that everyone's aligned, everyone's okay. And if all of this was really understood, just to answer all these questions regarding the LVL, having these conversations about our experience as traders, what on the high level it really means for why we're like um, profitable or non-profitable, like those levels of similarities and how we make mistakes and more, and how we sort of, max out and rise above those areas. That's kind of where I just wanted to bring this conversation. I hope like any of this resonated with you, as that's where I hope like we were able to make sure. And we are aware that there is this error that's being given. We if you are getting that error where it says "oops" on the screen where you're supposed to fill out the form, just create a ticket with us just so that we can best able to source all of this to make sure that you can. All right. Um, you can join if you're working during the day on and off. It all the really like the most important part are those mentor pods if you want to do the commitment side. Because again, there's the commitment side and there's the non-committed. The non-committed, you can still attend lessons and get the resources and everything, but it's just like you won't have the full experience and you also won't be inducted into the level up challenge, essentially. So it's just about whoever can sort of make the commitment, at least be able to show up, do the 3 to 4 hours of each week. If you're able to accomplish that, then yeah, you know, with the level up, I mean, if you're an active, that's typically very useful for active traders. If you have at least 1 hour in a day to be able to, let's say, look at charts, collaborate with the team, be in at least in the Discord chat. You don't have to be on typically we put people on the voice call, and it becomes really active, right? It becomes really engaging on the voice call. It's preferred to be on the voice call because people are able to get live insights and whatnot. But some people prefer just being in the chat, or people they multitask, they're at work, so on and so forth. So, but we're very accommodating in those ways. The most if when we talk about commitment, if it's just to be very real for a moment, it's like when we talk about commitment, it's like it matters, right? We are trying to help people and really those who showed up and to get the results they're looking for, like we need that engagement. We need those interactions. When we're having these pod sessions, we're gonna have the camera on. So you're gonna have to tidy up or whatnot. I might show up in my pajamas just to make y'all feel comfortable for those who could get camera shy. But it's just to get that sense of engagement, to really hear you get your questions answered. Because I know sometimes it can become really intimidating having this big group and having to ask questions, and then sometimes your questions don't always go answered. I mean, people ask tons of questions in this chat here today, and unfortunately, because of that size, I may not be able to get to every single one. You know what I mean? So, and I that honestly makes me sad. That time, people know, like especially when I'm on stream, like I'll say I'm gonna get off at like 12, and then I end up getting off at like 2 p.m. because someone will ask a question and I want to answer. Like I want to answer everyone's questions. You know what I mean? Like you are important to me. Like you matter. What you're experiencing matters to me. It matters to all of us as educators. And so that's where we're going this route, where we want to match that level of commitment and being able to figure specifically like what's going on. So if you're sort of half foot in, half foot out, we're not able to help you as effectively as we can. That's really the big gist of it. It's not really like we're trying to grill you or just say, hey, we need you to show up. It's really about how we are able to best assist you with our time and with your time, you know. But we make it as accommodating as we can with our team and with our schedules, if that makes sense. Oh, and so if you join the academy, you it should pop up on your it should pop up on your invite only. And if it didn't, you go to WAP. You go to WAP.com. You log into your WAP that you paid for the or you started your subscription, and you would do claim indicator. You'd make sure that your trading view is connected. That's most important. All right. So I'm gonna see if I can kind of share or showcase this. Okay. So when you are on Wibbity Wop, and this goes for all indicators, any of them that are on our system. All right. So if you see my screen. So if you're on WAP, you go to this link specifically, and you go to connected accounts. Make sure your Discord and your username are connected here. All right. So make sure these things are connected and that your Discord is spelled, or rather, your trading view is spelled correctly. If it's not spelled correctly, we can't help you. But after you do that, you go over to one of your WAPs. You go to one that says Teach Trade, and you go ahead and you click. You would go to the LVL framework, the one that says it, and you'd click Claim Indicator. All right. So, I mean, great question, MM. The challenges we, our original plan was to try to do them like it would be ideal to try to see about monthly, right? But we're looking into our schedules and our availability and our team's availability, the level of interest, how to gauge and accept users because we do have a lot of people who are on the wait list. Um, and so uh it's all about the schedule, like how long we're playing. Like the ideal sense, the most realistic would be bi-monthly, I would say. Bi-monthly is like the most realistic. Monthly is probably asking for a bit too much. But if we're able to grow to a point where we're able to suffice that, we're able to sort of signal and um, be able to give that full experience to a larger audience on a regular basis, we would shoot for monthly, but right now we're gonna go on the side of bi-monthly. But not set in stone. We're still figuring things out and still getting everything organized, if that makes sense. But this will be our third challenge next month when we go through it. All right. And so even if you do not become a Cavity member now, the opportunity to be in the next level up challenge is still open. Um, Again, you just join the waitlist if you want to get further updates regarding the um, the indicator, the challenge. You can go here, put your email in, join the waitlist, and you'll get in. We'll assign you specifically for which challenge could be right for you. We would then get your level of commitment, and yeah, that's kind of how that would work. But I don't want to promise anything about dates until we've all settled. But we will create awareness around all of this all the time. You know, like we said, we for the most part kept to September as our target date for this next challenge. We got delayed by 1 week. And so it's gonna start first week of October. You know what I mean? So it's just we had that same thing. Pods are at a certain time, but you pick the time. You pick the time that works best for you. We have about four times. And so if none of those work, we'll sort of see what other accommodations that can be made. But if not, that's kind of how we would just give you some. We would inform you. You know, the key level, the original key level indicator, there will be there will not be any updates to that. Okay, and that's a completely different indicator. If that makes sense. Okay. Um, that one is done. It's one and done. It's actually not even publicly available anymore. But I still use it on a regular, you know what I mean? But we in our current scope, in our current roadmap, there are no plans to update the original key level. Okay. It's just not in scope with how we teach anymore. It's also not in scope of just our distribution. What it is currently is, for the most part, with our app, our academy, our tools as they pertain to the LVL framework, and Autostratic is branching to be its own thing, but that also has its own roadmap. But that's kind of what we would say. I'm glad you like it, Michael. We're actually going to publish some more updates to the app soon as well to just make it more personalized. So we're glad that you're in, and for anyone who's used the app, does anyone here not download the app? Is there anyone here not in Discord? I think all of you should be in Discord because that's how you clicked here. But if you have not downloaded the app, uh, I actually have no idea how to get to it. Oh, haha. But yeah, awesome. So we have 11 ratings. Nice. But we've reached 1,300 downloads within 2 weeks of being on the App Store. That's really huge to us, man. And so that we just know that number is going to get super big. So that is why we're also just doing all of this right now, especially a lot of this stuff, family, and we're gonna close out soon. I just want to make sure all the questions are answered and that you guys are just feeling good. I'm not gonna end this stream until y'all are feeling at least an 8 out of 10. I need an 8 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 from y'all, for because I'm not gonna end it until then. But just overall, it's like again, we are a small team. We've dedicated like I again like I'm in my MBA program. I literally joined and went back to college because this stuff is so important to me about trading and improving all these areas. And like that's like I want to be, if I need to be better for the needs of other traders and your needs and more, it's like I have to be better. Like I thought I wasn't ever gonna go back to school, but I knew I had all these ideas, I had all these problems I knew I needed to solve. And so it's like that's taking up, my time. I'm also managing this. I'm also doing those streams, and I'm also in the Discord, every single day, and trying to answer every question. So it does take a lot of work. And but at this point, we just want to make sure that at least for you all who have been with us, who are part of the journey before this really, because I will say in confidence, like there is going to be a real zeitgeist shift from a lot of the stuff we're planning. The if you believe in the mission and what we've tried to accomplish and how this really has brought you to this point, then that just means that there's something that really resonates with this message. If that's true, then this is going to only expand. And we're only going to want like-minded people with us. We're only going to want the people who really do believe in that level that you can become an independent trader. You can develop habits that when you join a Discord, your level of ability of making money and losing money, it starts and ends at the copy trade that you make. But what if you developed a habit that lasted you weeks, months, or years after you've ever even done anything else? Like that's a legacy, you know? And that's really what you guys are early. You guys are early. Like we want to make sure this is accessible as possible. We can't to be very candid, like we can't guarantee like it's always gonna stay like this, right? And that's why we really want to make sure like this is we can get people through the door that if we create more mentors, we leave higher levels of legacies, then that's it's gonna be okay, right? But this level of work is going to, as we get bigger, it's going to require more work, more time, more hours, more management, and we want to maintain that quality. And so, to be able to match that, we can't guarantee it's going to stay the same here all the time. You know what I mean? So that's really what we want to be able to do to make sure that those skills are built, to make sure your levels of continuity are set in stone, and that even when it's all said and done, that you know that you've learned something and that you've become your own mentor and you've decided the journey yourself. Okay. Need to take some water. When you do join the challenge, you do get temporary access. If you join the challenge outside of the academy, you get temporary access to the academy for the duration of the challenge, as well as all the tools and everything. Just to answer that question. And so if you need a direct link, by the way, I've shared the link to this page. If you need the direct link to the academy, it's here. So level up challenge is here. I'll post that in the chat if someone asked about it. And then academy is this. And so yes, there is a wait list. But the thing is not there's a wait list, but not everyone commits because the schedule may not align or it just, people opt out sometimes. So it's very, typically people, it comes first come, first serve when we sort of do the signups for the challenge and whatnot. So There's no fear. Like typically, if you sign up for the wait list, there's a really strong chance to get into the next one, essentially. You know what I mean? For this upcoming one, there will be limited spots in terms of our availability. But we'll let like once that time comes for however many intake that we have in terms of our students that we have on the within the academy, that's gonna give us higher visibility over how much intake we can take if for anyone who's joining the challenge at a later point outside of the academy. Um, well, yeah, Chris, if you committed, if you filled out that form, then you're good. Yeah, you're so waitlist for LVL challenge, but should be clear to join the. I guess I'm not. I want to answer clearly, Coach. I just maybe don't fully understand the question. But yeah, the level up challenge itself has a wait list if you want to, because essentially, if you find yourselves, if you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wait for the academy, maybe it doesn't line up with my schedule, but I may be available for the level up challenge. If it's like like 2 or 3 weeks from now, where you're like, huh, I think I want to become part of the challenge, then like your wait list there would be something whether you get inducted or not, and then you'd pay for the event essentially separately, for the event itself alone, for that duration of the challenge. All right. So that's kind of like what that means to be a wait list for once you get accepted and once you want to be part of it if, at a later date. But if it's like if you want to commit now, if you feel like you're gonna be part of it and whatnot, or and that you have the time, because again, we only want people who can make it and are serious and committed. Like because there's no in the challenge, there's no hand holding. It's you and your team. And you have us as mentors and we guide you, but there's no hand holding. It's like we're not gonna we don't give you the trades. It's like you are gonna be your own. Imagine if you were in the hot seat, especially for those who know me from Wealth Squad. Imagine if you were in the hot seat like me to start alerting trades. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna see how this has been. But thankfully, it's not to 40,000 people who want to slap you in the street of Manhattan if a trade goes wrong. Because those are the types of Instagram DMs I got back in 2021, let me tell you. But more so, it's going to be that you have a strong indication about what trade is going to have a high probability of like working out. And then you're going to share it with your teammates and give them visibility over like a really cool opportunity, right? Or they're going to share that with you, that level of collaboration. But it's like, in order to achieve that, it's like you can't sit on the sidelines. So we very much discourage that because you're just, again, you're not going to grow, you're not going to commit to the way of being a confident trader, developing the habits and whatnot. So that's kind of like just how, just want to make sure there's alignment, and that we, again, can help you as best as we can. And then the other side is just to add to that, once this logger is able to be released, that in itself is if you had your own Discord alert system in your pocket for your watch list on any given day at any time. And so that's just between you and me though. Don't tell anyone else I said that until it's time. And you'll know when it's time. But that's really all I have to share in the sense just about sharing the screen, share the information. The academy itself, it starts again this Sunday. The challenge itself, the date, let me just double check. That's on October 5th, so the first full week of October. Just to answer those questions again. Are y'all at an 8 yet? Are y'all at an 8? Maybe I got y'all to the 7. I got y'all to an 8 out of 10. I don't know where I got y'all. That's for the academy. But the academy commits you to the challenge. So you don't see the form, make sure if you may have gotten an email. I don't know your name. Your name is just a period on here. But if you're in the Discord, if you don't see the form, if you don't see anything, if if again, to get fully in there, you have to commit, you have to fill out the form. And that's by Friday. All right. So if you don't see the form, I could actually directly share the link now. It may say error for you. You have to be an Academy member first to even see the form. That's the reason, if anyone has been wondering, because a lot of people have been like, "Oh my God." Uh, I just want to see what I can do here. So the form is here. Again, if you click it, it may say error, and that just may mean that you're not a member or there's something else that we need to figure out. And if that is so, we just create a ticket in the Discord. All right. So so that's that. So any other questions, Chad? I mean, I actually this is only supposed to be 1 hour, but I guess I've had your time, which again is all I say this. Hopefully, I don't sound like too much of a broken record, but I say this all the time. Like your time is a privilege to me, to us. Like we don't want to waste it. When we're sharing this and having these meetings, it's because it's like we're meeting to discuss your growth. We're meeting to discuss like what's next, what else is out there. Um, we could be on here like today, earlier, and yesterday on stream, we were talking about vibe coding apps and how to get better at creating your own app because all this AI and everything. We were talking about like people making $20,000, $30,000 a month by just, through building apps and also trading and then funding the marketing for their apps through trading. Just so it's like it's always about like we're having these high value conversations such that the time is here and we're not here to ever waste it and always to just make sure that the alignment and the questions are always answered. All right. But I'll get off my soapbox here. And we're just gonna make sure if you have questions, ask them in the Discord. You can hit the @ symbol and then mod. If I'm not available, you could get Jasmine, Jamal, Aman, Ray to be able to assist you too, or to create a support ticket in the support channel. So what are the WAP steps? Okay, and then that'll be the last thing, and then we'll close this out. All right. So the WAP. Um, the WAP steps, and we'll post this in the chat as well. I'll post a tutorial, a little mini tutorial. But you go to your profile on WAP, or you go directly to this link that I'm sharing. Oops, not that link. To this link that I'm sharing in the chat. And with this link in the chat, um, that's going to lead you to your connected accounts. Make sure your trading view is connected there. All right. And I definitely gotta go because my mom's calling me. So make sure your trading view is connected. Make sure your Discord is connected. And then you go over to your teach trade. Um, I just I just want to make sure there's no personally identifiable data in there. But you go over to teach trade and to access the actual indicator, you click on LVL Framework. I know I'm not sharing my screen. That's just because I gotta make sure that you click on LVL Framework and then you click Claim Indicators and make sure again your TradingView username is spelled right. Click Claim Indicators. Make sure your TradingView is spelled right. refresh TradingView, and then you'll be good. All right. But again, this is after you become an Academy member, that this will show up for you. All right. So that's how you connect it. So, with all of that said, good family, you all have a blessed and gracious night. We are going to hear from you, talk with you, understand your needs, and guide you through this journey over the next 5 weeks. All right. We still have more sessions to go through. We have our Twitter spaces tomorrow. We have, for anyone who's brand spanking new, uh, in the Discord and whatnot, we have a class on Thursday, and we're just gonna keep feeding it through. All right, family. So I'm gonna see y'all real soon, and y'all have a blessed night. Let's continue at it. And if you're in the academy, if you just joined the academy, join us tomorrow because we're not gonna be on the Twitch stream. We're gonna be on the guided trading session. You'll receive an email when it's ready. It's gonna come out about either an hour or 15 minutes before it starts, but that will be at um, 9:15 a.m. tomorrow, and that's going to be in the academy itself. All this information we're going to share in the Discord, and we're going to also send an email for anyone who just, is in the academy right now, and everything is all brand new. So, good night, y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. We'll talk soon.